Alright, so we've got even more Dragon Age gameplay and details on side content. BioWare doesn't want to repeat the same mistakes from Inquisition, so we actually have a lot of revamps and new design changes, plus a first look at another big city and much more. Also, you can still take part in my Dragon Age the Veilguard giveaway, available on all platforms. To enter, all you have to do is to make sure that you're sub to the channel, comment down below, and activate that notification bell to stay up to date. The winner will be announced as we get closer to launch date. Now, much of this information comes from the recent hands-on preview from IGN, and this details a lot more how we get to reach new areas and unlock new zones. And it seems that the Crossroads, one of the main zones in the Fate that we get to explore and play into, will play a pivotal role into reaching these new destinations, such as the Erlathen Forest, the Hosberg Wetlands, Revamped, and even a new city which we've seen, Treviso, also home to the Antivan Crows. And these places are rich in lore and things to do. On one side, Eurogamer confirms that Codex entries are also making a return, but like we talked about before, there's much more to exploration than we thought, with lots of secret puzzles, extra missions, and interesting characters to meet and see, including vendors with unique items. So let's jump over the first one, which is the new city, Treviso, like I said, home to the Antivan Crows faction, also one of the factions that we get to help and align ourselves with in the game. And this appears very lively and packed with NPCs, definitely something that's somewhat new to the Dragon Age. Some of these NPCs are going to be quite important. We have lots of quest givers, so there are a lot of benefits to come here and help them out. Also, merchants selling unique items according to IGN's hands-on preview, so definitely stuff to find and see. In fact, IGN notes how there was so much to explore just in this city that they were constantly getting sidetracked when trying to complete the main objective. But we can also pet the various dogs and cats inhabiting here, so yeah, this is definitely something that you can do. Not a big deal these days, but it's nice to have nonetheless. Now, beyond this, we also got some extra info on the first few hours of the game, and yes, early on the game will be more linear, especially in the prologue section. But once we progress further enough into the first act, IGN was able to confirm that we're going to be much more free to explore and tackle side quests as we go from region to region. And one of the ways in which we're going to go to new region is via the Crossroads. You can think of these as a sort of nexus between the Fade and the waking physical world of Thedas. It's in fact through these crossroads that the ancient elves used to travel to the physical world via these magical mirrors called Illuvians. So now we're going to get to use them to travel to and unlock new regions. However, before we can start doing that, and especially before we can start unlocking fast traveling to these locations, we will need to navigate the crossroads, defeat waves of darkspawn enemies until we reach these locations with new magical mirrors that bring us to the new zones, or at least that is in part true for at least a couple of the early on regions we can go to. And as we fight against them, we're going to end up opening them up, which is going to bring us to whole new locations with whole new narratives. And through all of this, the Caretaker is kind of like our Whithers. If you played Baldur's Gate 3, Whithers was kind of like your main NPC to reset your classes, invest more new points, and also it played a pivotal role in some of the story elements, especially related to the Dark Urge. Well, it seems that in Dragon Age the Veilguard, Caretaker kind of fits the same role. In this one, he's going to be offering players loot upgrades as well as enchanting, but also he's going to have a deep connection to Solas and his past, even offering us boat rides as we travel through the Fade and specifically through the Crossroads. And just like Withers' impact on Baldur's Gate storyline, like I said, the Caretaker could also unveil more insights into the game's lore. One of those is going to obviously be through some of the Solas memories that we're going to talk about in just a little bit. In the meantime, I do want to talk about environmental mechanics. The fourth detail here is that, well, besides the general navigation, we've also seen quite a few shots of being capable of opening up adjacent routes and passageways, and it seems that our companions will have some unique abilities to help us with that. So each companion has a different power that lets us interact with our surroundings in unique ways. IGN showcased how Belara's power lets her tinker with magical artifacts, though IGN did not follow up on that or what it actually does, but it could relate to opening up new secret areas or zones, as BioWare did mention this before. At number 5, another important detail is that BioWare really wants to get rid of the boring fetch quests back from Inquisition. That is a mistake that they don't want to repeat, with the hinterlands of course having been a very notorious region for the number of fetch quests we had in that. And Veilguard seems to boil a lot of that down, and instead quests will be a lot more meaningful, pointing back to either the main story, the main region, faction, or even companions. And we do know that companions also have their own quest lines. So for example, reaching the Hosberg wetlands, we got to find out that the Grey Wardens fight off the Darkspawn in the area, as the Blight has now pretty much consumed the former vibrant town of Lavendel. So besides these main conflicts over here of helping out the Grey Wardens fight off the Blight, there's an entire town here with a lot more quests and NPCs to help that all point back at the main events happening within the region, along with shops and Grey Warden quartermasters that offer unique and seemingly very strong items that, yeah, we may want to get. This is going to be dependent on our reputation here, so this is definitely something that we're going to want to take extra steps for. Now at number 6, it's not going to be all high fantasy. It seems that the new, more, let's just say, PG fight aesthetic is not on everybody's liking. It seems that it's quite a divisive take, but it's not going to be all high fantasy. In fact, according to IGN's preview, there is a lot of room over here for dark fantasy, gore, and even horror-inspired aesthetics. So a lot of stuff that may be reminiscent of Dragon Age 2 for those of you who are nostalgic for the old looks. But in terms of that, IGN was able to confirm that there's quite a bit of that, especially in places affected by the Blight. So a really interesting aspect of the Blight is that it's also going to spawn a lot of these pustules that spawn around in combat when you fight in places affected by the Blight, that if you don't destroy in time, they will otherwise cause a lot of these horrific darkspawn to emerge from them. So it's at least one of the cool new mechanics added to it, but it's not the only one. It seems that BioWare wants to make the Blight a lot more interesting this time around, though the full extent on it is not fully known. At number 7, for all of you Solas fans out there, yes, we're going to see a lot more of him in Dragon Age the Veilguard. So in the preview, we saw him going through that portal, seemingly being trapped onto the other side, but apparently we're going to see a lot more of him, specifically via memories that we get to unlock as we go from the lighthouse to the crossroads and even in the crossroads region. We do know that this place served as his former base of operation that we get to move in relatively early due to some currently unknown story circumstances. But the whole place is filled with history and echoes of his past, which come in the form of these memories. It seems that we're going to be able to unlock and interact with some of them via some of these murals that offer us a glimpse into his past, especially as he was preparing that rebellion against the old elven gods. Very interesting to see more of him, and like I said, the Caretaker is going to play a huge role into this, hence that small comparison with Whithers from Baldur's Gate 3. Now at number 8, we also have to talk about the difficulty settings. It seems that besides the 3 main difficulty options, which are pretty much casual, normal, and some kind of nightmare mode, there's also going to be a custom difficulty with a lot of fine-tuning to many parameters. So this even goes as far as letting you fine-tune how much damage you do to enemies by adjusting their HP, especially helpful if all of a sudden you find that enemies drop too quickly, or maybe you find them way too bullet spongy. Additionally, there's options to adjust enemy pressure, and you can also change the combat timing to make parry windows easier or harder. There are in fact 3 modes over there you can pick between: a forgiving, a balanced, and a harder option. And there's also options you can adjust how navigation works. You can turn that off completely and instead opt to follow environmental clues, turn off wayfinding on or off, and so on and so forth. On top of that, we also get photo mode pretty much day 1. So this is something that BioWare was able to confirm. It's pretty much going to launch with all the bells and whistles you can expect from a photo mode, maybe with a few extras on top, such as the possibility to hide characters, enemies, and other various things on the battlefield. But besides that, you have your typical camera controls, depth of field, and all of the other things you might expect from it. Now this could also be a cool way to capture some of the super high quality hair physics we've seen in some of the rendered shots. Like, yes, our characters' hair physics will be absolutely on point, So I'm glad that this time around they actually nailed that. Usually, hair physics is not a strong suit for Dragon Age games. And since we talked about photo mode, on a final note, the only other thing I'm going to mention is that it seems characters will retain their beauty even in the pre-rendered cutscenes, so that was at least obvious from the recent IGN hands-on. The characters still looked good even in all of these cutscenes and conversations that had close-ups on that face. So kinda looking forward to creating a character that actually looks good both in the photo mode as well as in real gameplay. At least I hope that's going to be the case when the game comes out. For now, it looks way better than in Inquisition. And yeah, that's pretty much it with the video. Let me know down below if there's anything you're excited about for this game. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.